What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
And that wasn't all. Many people had already died, he knew. If he decided to abandon his fellow comrades inside the labyrinth, Calgurio's name would be forever enshrined as the incompetent general who oversaw a historic defeat. He started this campaign with 900,000 troops, and now it was down to below 200,000. There was no way he could do something as terrifying as retreat like this. It was only at this point that Calgurio realized he had thoroughly underestimated this demon lord. He only saw the storm dragon as a threat. To him, the demon lord Rimuru and his forces were nothing but an opponent to be overrun and crushed. He hadn't spotted the enemy he was supposed to be fighting this whole time. It was a fatal blunder, but it was too early to give up. Hope in the form of Minutes was still there for him.
Calm down. I trust Major General Minutes more than anybody else on the force, and he's in the labyrinth now. I'm sure he'll bring back some intelligence. We can wait for the results from him first.
But Calgurio was unable to finish.
No, you should withdraw immediately, sir.
This unsolicited advice was offered by a man who had suddenly entered the tent.
Who are you?
One of the staffers demanded. Calgurio looked at the intruder, wondering what the guard sentry was up to. He appeared to be fine, but the blood on his uniform was troubling. Nobody in this tent had been involved in actual battle, so it was possible he was a survivor of another unit, or a...
My name is Krishna, Imperial Guardian number 17 and one of the force of 100 who entered the labyrinth 2 days ago.
Everyone present was astonished, Calgurio included.
You're an Imperial Guardian? Why is the Emperor's personal guard here?
The staff were disturbed, but Calgurio lived up to his reputation, quickly regaining his composure.
That's not the question. Krishna, was it? Can you begin by telling us what's going on?
With a single shout, he calmed the situation down a notch. Krishna thanked him with a nod and hastily briefed the tent.
The one thing I have to say is, that labyrinth's no joke. I'm not sure this will mean anything to you, but Bazan, rank 35th, and Raya, rank 94th, are dead. Major General Minutes died before my eyes, sir, and I don't know for sure, but I think Colonel Kanzis is dead, too. There are no survivors left in the labyrinth right now, you can be assured of that.
Everyone listened in stunned silence. Calgurio wanted to rant and rave about how much of a lie this was, but Krishna's eyes were dead serious. His whole body indicated he was telling the truth. Besides, he was a familiar face to Calgurio. He remembered Krishna as one of the people he sent out 2 days ago. So he was resurrected? Did he have a resurrection bracelet, then? A real one, not an imitation? Then it's safe to assume it's really him. Calgurio tried to think calmly, despite the fact that he wanted to be furious. Gadra had submitted 2 resurrection bracelets to the government. One was analyzed by their technical bureau, which helped them create replicas, while the other was presented to the emperor. Being loaned one of those replicas was probably what allowed Krishna to come back to life. It confirmed that resurrection bracelets actually worked, and also that their copies didn't work at all. In other words, every one of their men and women in the labyrinth had been wholly annihilated. Over 500 soldiers, dead. The sheer enormity of that fact turned Calgurio pale. But Krishna wasn't done yet.
Also, the one who killed me wasn't the demon lord at all, or even one of the big 4 who serve him. It was a magic born whose name I've never even heard of before. He was part of the 10 dungeon marvels, as he called it, but he was a level above anything I've ever seen.
Anyone who was in the marvels had fighting ability comparable to or higher than an archdemon. But even among all of them, the demon who called himself Zijin was on another dimension, enough so that Krishna saw full well how little chance he had to win.
I'll say this one more time, we have to retreat. There's no shame in that. Please, you have to step up and make the decision that'll save the troops we have left.
Krishna's ardor made the officers tense up. His words were undoubtedly true. Everybody's gut feeling was telling them there was no time to lose.
Not the demon lord? They have archdemon level monsters just bumping around in there? They're that strong? How is some upstart demon lord capable of having so much power?
Calgurio lost his patience and began ranting. His staff officers took that cue to begin shouting as well.
We have to retreat this instant. This isn't only our fault. The IIB was negligent as well.
Exactly. We have to help the survivors escape before the Demon Lord Rimuru makes another move.
Everybody was expressing their opinions now. Usually, they wasted hours arguing with each other, but on this occasion, they had unanimous agreement. Each of them instinctively knew they were in danger. Finally, Misha spoke.
I forgot to report this to you, sir, but it wasn't the Dragon Voldora who drove us to destruction. It was someone else's nuclear magic that dealt the fatal blow. Twice, in fact. It was magic on a scale that could easily defeat any Legion magic. The one who cast it is a threat, yes, but that's not my point. The point is,
Nobody needed to hear it. Everyone understood already. Veldora, the storm dragon, was still waiting for them ahead. So Calgurio made his decision.
Gather the troops. We're changing course. For now, we have to turn around and go back to our nation.
He called it a change of course and not a retreat, mainly for his own sake. He knew it was just semantic nonsense, but if he didn't phrase it that way, the anxiety was likely to crush him. No matter how foolish it sounded, he didn't care, as long as it got them out of this place. His staff all agreed on this, and they were ready to carry out the order at once. But the decision came too late. The situation was starting to evolve, soon to become a raging torrent that would sweep in and swallow them all up. The fate of the Imperial Army was already set in stone. As if to cancel out Calgurio's order, a low, clear voice echoed across the tent.
I cannot have that. My boss says he will not allow you to retreat.
The man put all the frenzied activity in this command tent to a halt. All eyes were on the tent entrance, where there stood a man in a foreign costume with a weapon called a katana at his waist. His white hair, speckled with gold, was pulled back and tied into a single knot, and he had a long white beard and a wrinkled face, but his sharp eyes and straight, clean posture made him seem ageless.
Who are you?
Krishna asked, stepping forward.
My pardons. My name is Agera, and I have been sent by my master, Lady Carrera, as her messenger.
This was Agera. Rimuru, being the peace-loving demon lord he was, had decided to send out an envoy to hopefully accept the enemy's surrender. Few expected the Empire to offer it. In fact, more of them were saddened to potentially lose the opportunity to kick some imperial ass. But Agera, one of the few among them with actual common sense, insisted that this was the true way of a warrior, so Geld granted his permission for it. Momiji had no objections, either, and so he was ordered to act as military envoy. This was also, however, meant to help buy time for the Tempest army to get ready. Whether the Imperial forces surrendered or made a last-ditch stand, they didn't care much, but running away was not allowed. Everybody who participated in this invasion must be punished. That was Rimuru's decision. Agera respected it, and so he had no intention of letting Calgurio off the hook here. One of the staff officers spoke up to him.
A messenger? By your boss, do you mean Rimuru?
Agera's expression turned grim for a moment.
How dare you refer to my stately leader strictly by his given name? Such arrogance. I hope you will reflect on that affront in the afterlife.
The moment he stopped speaking, the head of the staff officer who asked the question fell to the ground. No one present realized for a moment that Agera had drawn his sword. Even Krishna, who was closest to him, couldn't react in any way. With his single sword, Agera now dominated the scene. As everyone fell silent, he began to list his demands in a clear voice.
Now that it seems everyone is ready to listen to me, I will give our terms. Disarm yourselves immediately and surrender. If you do, you will be kept alive, I assure you, as our slave. If you choose to defy us, that is fine as well. We will decide your fates with our valor instead. I will wait 1 hour. If you wish to surrender, you may do so at any time before then.
With that, Agera turned away. Calgurio's brain was working hard, trying to figure out the best plan of action. Hoping for a Hail Mary, he decided to negotiate with Agera.
Wait, excuse me. I'd like you to wait a moment.
Yes?
Agera stopped and looked back at Calgurio.
Sorry, my name is Calgurio. I am the leader of this army and chief of this operation.
And what do you want?
Agera's mission here was to buy time, so he was in no hurry to go back. He wasn't particularly interested in hearing Calgurio out, but he decided to anyway. Seeing this reaction, the commander put all his hope in reasoning with him.
Sir Agera, you said earlier that you'd accept us as slaves if we surrendered. But could you perhaps reconsider those terms? The idea of slavery is simply too cruel to bear. I'm afraid I cannot accept that condition.
The sudden plea startled his staff officers, but no one voiced any objection. Everyone understood how weak their position was, and everyone knew this negotiation was their best hope for the future. Taking advantage of Agera's silence, Calgurio continued his one-sided conversation.
You can obtain victory for yourself without having to fight us when we're at our most ferocious. Instead of making us slaves, would you be able to let us go for now? We'll pay you reparations, of course, and we promise to refrain from any further invasion. No, actually, more than that. I would like to return to my homeland and appeal to the Emperor to form an alliance with your nation. If you and the Empire join forces, it'd be a trivial matter to rule the world. I'm sure it'd put your leader in an advantageous position over the other demon lords. And I don't think this is a bad offer from the demon lord Rimuru as well. Believe me, we will never forget a favor. What do you think? Could you perhaps allow us an audience with His Majesty the Demon Lord Rimuru?
Calgurio was desperate. Looking at how things were right now, the invasion of Dwargon and the labyrinth were both abject failures. Everybody involved with both operations was dead. The only survivors were the less than 200,000 people present here. They had blown this invasion royally, no matter how you looked at it. Even Calgurio had no choice but to admit that. He admitted it, and he wanted to make sure that those who were still alive could return home safely. It was the only way he could take responsibility for this now. After having his say, Calgurio waited for Agera's response. He knew this offer was a little convenient for his side, but it didn't mean they had zero chance. Their numbers might be significantly culled from before, but a little under 200,000 is still a very large army. They couldn't have been any smaller than the Demon Lord's forces, and having them all fighting for their lives in a frenzy couldn't have been what the Demon Lord Rimuru wanted. And unlike the labyrinth, on the ground, you couldn't come back to life if you died. That's why this proposal, which granted them a complete victory, really should have been worthy of their consideration. At the very least, it wasn't the kind of offer Agera could respond to right now. It'd definitely have to be conveyed to the Demon Lord Rimuru, and if he could be brought into the loop, that's when the real work would begin. Maybe he wouldn't let everyone off the hook, but at least some of their forces might have a chance to escape. Including Calgurio, he hoped. If they want to make slaves of us, they're probably not intent on taking our lives. It's rare to see such leniency from a demon lord, but maybe that'll help us this time. We could always buy back the rank and file soldiers later. I'll need to return home and inform His Majesty about this. Calgurio wanted to save his own life. But more than that, he wanted to save as many soldiers as possible. That, and he wanted to bring accurate intelligence back to the Emperor. Those were his true intentions, deep down. He had grossly underestimated the enemy's war power, and it led to defeat this time, but in a sense, it was totally unavoidable. With their gigantic forces, he was positive they could have seized Dwargon, Tempest, and the Western nations, even if they had to fight all three at once. He was absolutely sure of his victory, and this was the result. It was impossible to imagine a story as ridiculous as the Demon Lord Rimuru having not just one but several disaster-grade monsters serving him.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Sanketh Chalu, Minotaur, Chad Vota, I Like Anime, Ray Perez, Chris Guzman, Havox, Speed Saber, James Waters, Arijit Das, Quilly Buckner, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Justa Guy, Jason Martin, Miss L.W. Hernandez, Benjamin Villar, Funky Junkie 22, Jovi, Jason Reyes, Zach Rossan, Byron, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, John Charles, Godman Gaming, Akon Engok, Markithian Tidwell, Andre L. Hamilton, Adrian, Kumo, T. Bush, Chang, John L., Tojam, Edgar Fuentes, JV, Dirty Old Hobo, Gonse Direco, Thomas, Edmund, J., Christ, Juan Ignacio, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Vethelny, Lunel Scarlett, Khaled, Christian Deshazer, Cal Robs, Divine C. Harris, Destiny Smith, Panda Cats, Aaron Alarcon, DeAndre Nance, Monty Boy 98, D-Man, Divinay, Wise Viking, Ruben, Luis Caro, Yuki Iki, Pedro Robles, Kemal Ebanks, Chris Duncan Jr., Isaac, Shadow Wolf 660, Koala King 93, Devon, Paul DeGrassi, Little 95, Coyote de Peza, This Is Not My Username, Mizel Bizel, Zephyras, Hadila Francisca, Alver, Normal Defate, Joshua Andrade, Jaya Keshav, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, Alex Gomez, J. Rule, Nate, Sayonori, Alfredo Interior, Lil Tier, Liron Sankap, Eric Tass, Christopher Mash, Edward Garcia, BFGR, Ilex Y, Rory M. Brassel, Sri Nanduri, Foolish Prophets, Ethan Madison, Louis Strutter, Charles Bailey, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Nick H, Andre Hamilton, Jason Torres, Sesh, Sergio Aguilar, Martin Ramos, Guy Endsley, Simon Rode, Emperor WSA, Mika Espinosa, George Hage, Stabby Cakes, Alex Yamashita, Pratik Bandari, Von Joseph, Deriha Skerte, Jackson Early, Isauna Daka, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadel, Tank Bailey, Cam, Gareth Hashimoto, and Kit Kumar. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.